morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. It's morning here, Saturday morning. My name's Kieran. If you're tuning in for the first time, hope everyone's doing well. I'm gonna do just show you kind of the there's been records gathering in different parts of my apartment of new arrivals. So I've shown you guys what I picked up the first half of my online digs for the year, what I found in Detroit, but still been digging locally here, and I've found, you know, obviously some good stuff. Some of this stuff is, I may have already shown, some of it is from June, July, August, September, so it's a few months worth of stuff. It's kind of mostly jazz and soul as usual, or only. So I just figured I'd hop on and show you guys. This is what we're listening to. I kind of like the idea of showing stuff, playing stuff during these videos that is like current stuff that's coming out now, so you guys can easily buy the records if you like the music. I showed that Quartet Now record, which I highly recommend, a couple videos ago, and this one is really dope as well. Something I discovered through Instagram actually, Organic Pulse Ensemble, Transcending the Sum, and although it's ensemble, it's actually one guy. I can't remember where he's from in Europe. Doesn't say. Distributed by Urban Waves Records. So this came out this year. Organic Pulse Ensemble, Transcending the Sum, and I recommend you check it out. Honestly, it's and it wasn't expensive to have shipped from Europe. I don't know if there's any copies in North America available. Okay, let's get into it. There's a pretty big stack here. I don't want to make this a super long video. I had moved a bunch of my records, I think I shared a few months ago. I never really finished that process. I kind of had to rearrange some things, and I still had some records that didn't have a home, like the rock records, which, you know, I don't listen to as much. A lot of them I was given. Anyway, they had been just kind of up against the wall for a while. I went out and bought another little shelf, so I did a little reorganizing, just a small little four square. So I wanted to I'm going to start filing records away. These are the ones I showed in my last video, so that's why I wanted to I'm just going to show you what I got, because some of it's going to start, and then I got to narrow it down to one creative stuff I haven't listened to yet. This is Talk with the Spirits, Mike Luongo. Something I just was recommended through the VC on Pablo. This is produced by Dizzy Gillespie, and I don't know the year here, but it's from the late 70s, and this is a cheap record that is, I really recommend. Some nice grooves on here. One of the better Pablo records in my opinion, but there are a few that I do enjoy, and they're not expensive. This was something I had seen someone post in the VC on Instagram, and I'd never seen the record, and then I went out and I found it in Ottawa. Actually, I might have already shown this. Tjader Plugs In. This is on Sky. So from the late 60s, I would say. Sky is Gabor Szabó's label, which has his amazing album Dreams on it. I don't know any of the musicians on here. Dope record, live at the Hermosa Beach Club, I think. Yeah, so live at the Lighthouse, which is in Hermosa Beach. So another nice, there's quite a few good live records from the Lighthouse. 1969. Definitely been on a little bit of a Latin kick recently, trying to pick up some Latin records. I mean, I don't kick. I'm just trying to grab a few. I don't really have any. This is one. I haven't listened to this actually yet. Grupo Irakere. Kind of, because I brought so many records back from the States, there's stuff all over, things are getting mixed together. But I read and heard good things about this one. Not expensive. So yeah, I grabbed that. This I did play in one of my last videos. Really nice discovery. Kenny Barron, Innocence, on a label I didn't know, Wolf, from the late 70s. Another cheap one. This is all, you know, kind of really affordable stuff. $5 to $20, let's say. This is from 1978 with Jimmy Owens, Billy Hart, Buster Williams, Sonny Fortune. I think I showed this. Really dig this. Check that out if you can find it. This is one I had heard of, and copy was cheap. It's not in the best shape. I haven't actually listened to this one yet. This is Milagre Dos, I don't know how to say that. So this is a Milton Nascimento record. I think it's like a second pressing or something. This is what the label looks like, not that I care. It's a live one, 2-disc. Yeah, not too strong in the Portuguese department. But I remember sampling this and it sounded good, and I know it's been recommended to me before, so that's gonna go into to be listened to crate. This is one that I got, I think right before I left and never got to it. I picked up a second one of these, Irakere 2. That's gonna go in that same pile of to be listened to, the Latin stuff. A Joe Henderson I was missing, which I was happy to find locally. Black Narcissus, not one I was familiar with. I have most of his Milestone 70s output now. I'm missing Multiple, as in the one titled Multiple. This has a version of Power to the People on it. Jack DeJohnette. I think this is a mid or later, yeah, 76. Looking forward to listening to that. This was completely unknown to me. I found it, came across it and was curious, and it's a really beautiful record actually. Quiet, Walt Dickerson and Richard Davis. It's called Tenderness. Really nice, kind of spacious record. This is on is this on Inner City? No, it's on Steeplechase. So from Denmark. I don't know if it was reissued in the States or not by Inner City. A lot of them were, but it's a bit later, so from 1985. And if you listen to the name of the tracks, Tenderness, Divine Gemini, So Thoughtful, The Road Must Bend, Play Sans Play. So yeah, really nice later record from these two musicians that I like a lot. Vibes and bass. So this was I picked up from the same store in Ottawa that I grabbed that Tjader from. Can't remember if I showed these in a previous video or not. Really dope record. I've seen a few people show this in the D.C. Amina Claudine Myers, Song for Mother E. Highly recommend this one. It may not be everyone's thing. Also a spacious record, but it's another duo record like the one I just showed. She plays piano, organ, and giggle stick. And Farwan Aklaf, I never know how to say his name, the drummer, percussionist, does drums, gong, little instruments and voice. So it's a mix of different sounds, but they have really nice, they work really well together. So yeah, another duo record. Changing gears here, Gene Harris, Astral Signal, more on the jazz, soul jazz, jazz funk tip on Blue Note. Cool cover on this one. This one's still in the shrink with the hype sticker on there. I don't know what year this is from. It doesn't say, but I would probably guess like 73. Based on the label too, it may even be a bit later. Yeah, nothing like, not crazy, but enjoyable. Maybe not everyone's cup of tea. Some of it a bit cheesy. This was actually a gift for my birthday, which was end of July. I didn't have this. Record's in good shape, but cover's a bit beat. I love the cover on this one though. The picture, Ornette Coleman, Love Call. This is from the late 60s. Is this one live too? I believe this was a live performance. I think this is from the same set as the New York one. Anyway, happy to add that to the collection. This is one, I don't know how I'd never come across copy, and I think I've come across, or maybe one, but I didn't want to pay 20 bucks for it, and I found this at a thrift shop for a few bucks, which is what it should cost. Weather Report, self-titled. I don't know that it's actually their first one. So Alphonse Mouzon, Joe Zavadou, Miroslav, and Wayne Shorter. Don't need to talk about that, people know it. This was a VC recommendation. You see a lot of Paul Horn records for really cheap, you know, $2, $3. And this is one that was kind of, I think Chris Cole had recommended, Cleopatra, from the early to mid 60s. I think it's like 63 or 64, with Emil Richards, Victor Feldman, Chuck Israels, and I don't know the other musicians. So I'm looking forward to digging into this. More like some modal jazz. This is one I was happy to find. I had to have a Japanese pressing of this. Absolutely love, particularly in a sentimental mood on here, but this is Duke Ellington and John Coltrane. You see that Spartan there. For those of you who don't know, that's means it's a Canadian pressing, so it's on was pressed up by Spartan, so the label looks different, but it's still like original Canadian press. I know it's not as sought after as the US pressings, but seeing that I live in Canada, these come up more often than the original American ones, and I'm always happy to grab them when I can, especially when they're in like mint shape and they don't cost an arm and a leg like often when you see them online, the American pressings. These were this next few I bought all from the same place, the spot just down the road from me. This is a Headhunters record, straight from the gate. Not as good as their, you know, the self-titled one, but still some good stuff on here. Some this one's from a bit later, yeah, from '77. Still enjoyable jazz funk record. This is a Herbie Hancock record. I did not know. Speak Like a Child. I mean, I had seen it, but it's one that I didn't have in that batch of CDs that you can see just there, which is how I started discovering jazz, was buying CDs. I'm sure many of you the same thing. Ron Carter, Mickey Roker, Thad Jones, and other musicians I don't even know. This was nice, but not like you know, mind blowing. May grow on me with repeated listens. This I feel like I probably showed. Time for a Change, Monette Souther Quartet and Quintet, some Philly jazz, also a Chris Cole recommendation, but yeah, part of Sounds of Liberation, that just have, as you know, if you probably part of the VC, the Sounds of Liberation live performance from Columbia University that was just released by Dogtown Records in collaboration with Brewerytown Beats. Really good record. I recommend. I have that one in the crate of online purchases from the year, the second half that I haven't shown, but I have listened to it and it's great, so I recommend that. When I started kind of wanted to get a bit more interested in Latin music, you know, I haven't gone full in, but browsing through what records were sought after and recommended and stuff, and this is one of them, and it's one of the harder ones to find. This is a second pressing, so was happy to find it in good shape and not too expensive since it's a second press. This is Ray Barretto Acid, and definitely see why this is kind of a desired record. This is fire. Really enjoyed this. Gonna get a lot of play. This one that just kind of caught my eye up on the wall at the store, and it's an interesting record. I enjoy it. It's also was just reissued by Outer National Sounds, coincidentally, which I bought a few of their reissues, the Nimbus ones. So this is jazz, raga style, Shankar, Jackie Chan, and Rais Khan on sitar. Very, you know, what you'd expect, but of the better Indian jazz that I've heard. and this is what the label looks like, his master's voice, made in India. And not an easy record to find, from as I found out. I was happy to come across it, and had some diversity, not something I have a lot of in the collection. Couple Japanese records actually here. Don't have many. Like, I have American artists on Japanese labels recorded in Japan, but I don't have much. I don't have any, I think, Japanese jazz. Well, maybe Hino, but anyway. So this store here got in some Three Blind Mice. There was actually 3 that I wanted, but wasn't quick enough because I didn't grab them before I went away. But 2 were still there when I got back, and this is Ako's Dream, Isao Suzuki Sextet on Three Blind Mice. So yeah, happy to kind of discover something on that label. And then the other one that I grabbed was Orpheus. This one I've listened to, and I dig it. You know, it's not like blow your mind. They're both, I think, like second pressings, but from the 70s still. This one actually, I think, has a different cover. I'll show you guys what the label looks like. So I've heard good things about this label, and it's not easy to find, especially over here in North America. But yeah, that's what the label looks like. And I don't think these are necessarily the most sought after records on the label, but from what I've heard, they're very good. So yeah, we'll kind of, not something I'm gonna seek out aggressively, but if, you know, always cool when stuff like this shows up at a local store. Someone that had it and decided they didn't need it anymore. Another little stack, or a bit of the stack left. This is a Japanese pressing of Leroy Hudson, The Man, on Buddha Records. I need to listen to this some more. It didn't resonate with me as much as the other Leroy Hudson records that I have, but I know people like this record. I dig the cover a lot, but I'll have to spin that one a few more times with maybe a bit more attention. I played it in the kitchen while cooking a few times, but I love Leroy Hudson. That's over. Little soul, serving up some soul, Mary Wells. Track I love on here is Two Lovers History, which was sampled by Dilla for the track History on the Mos Def album, The Ecstatic. The track with Kweli, which I love the whole track, and the beat is just incredible. But the whole thing's nice, some nice soul, but that track, just hearing that and knowing what the beat is, I love it. I bought this because I love everything Curtis Mayfield. Gladys Knight and the Pips in Claudine is the name of the movie here, I guess, which I have not seen, but kind of Gladys Knight with that Curtis Mayfield sound, which I love because it's written and produced by Curtis. That kind of classic 70s Curtis sound. Didn't have this, really nice copy, just a little hole punch, but Canadian pressing of this Al Green record that I really, really like. It's actually one, I knew a bunch of the songs, but I never kind of listened to the whole record, or heard all the tracks and listened to it as an album. I probably heard some of it on Greatest Hits and stuff, but I love Al Green, and this is one of his earlier ones from the early 70s, I think. Dope record. This, I feel like I've had this, I think, quite some time. Not going to show that. Another Herbie Hancock record. This is a reissue of a record that is gorgeous. If you're into the spiritual jazz stuff, Nate Morgan, Journey into Negrita. Love to have an original of this, but I'm just happy to have music to be able to listen to on vinyl. This is also, as I mentioned, Outer National Sounds reissued this, and to me it sounds great, and the music's beautiful. Highly recommended. I know people really like that record. This I posted yesterday, a mainstream record that I did not know at all by this guitarist. There's not much online, so it's like guitar, jazz, funk, bluesy vibes, definitely groovy. You have some jazz musicians on here, Hadley Kaliman. People say, like, there's really not much, but based on the musicians, that it was probably kind of like a Bay Area group and recorded there, but it's really hard to find info. And lastly, A Ghetto Lullaby, Jackie McLean. Really good stuff that's not too expensive from the 70s on Inner City by Jackie McLean. And when I put this on again this week, actually, I was kind of like, oh, one of the tracks seemed kind of a little bit straight and not as interesting. But when I got through the whole thing, so I think I had started with side 2, the track Where Is Love, but it's dope. If you're into the modal stuff, definitely dig. But some of this is definitely kind of more just straight. You have Kenny Drew, Alex Reel, and Niels Henning, but some of it does feel like it reaches a bit deeper. So yeah, that's that. 20 minutes as usual. Hard to keep it under that sometimes. Beautiful weekend, end of September, and it feels like the middle of summer outside. So I'm gonna go out, enjoy that, and then probably come home and just chill out, listen to some records tonight. Hope everyone's doing well. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Peace.